Hello everyone, my name is Adam Higgs from F&TRC. Thank you for joining today's webinar where we're going to look at how you can use the protection comparison tools within our comparison service Quality Analyser. As a bit of background to the system, we at F&TRC have been benchmarking insurers for the best part of 15 years now. Historically, our benchmarking comprised of questions around the operational side of things, so the technology that they provide, their extranets, and so on and so forth. However, over the last 5 years, we have expanded to look at more product-orientated areas to provide advisors with the free software that we're going to run through today, Quality Analyser, which enables you to compare providers based on the quality of their product from both a product features point of view and an operational point of view. Now, if you haven't already registered for the service, you can access it at www.advisorsoftware.com, and within this webinar, what I'll do is I'll take you through various aspects of the system that you could use in your protection research if you so wish. One other point, our benchmarking is formed of a survey that goes out to each insurer. The average size of that survey is around 4,000 questions per product, so we really do drill into the detail of what insurers offer and how they offer it to really get to understand each insurer's proposition. Now, as I said, if you haven't already registered, when you go to www.advisorsoftware.com, there is a register link just here which you can click on, and it will take you through to a short form which you can complete and then register, and we'll get you switched on as soon as possible. If you have registered, hopefully you would have received your password by now and been able to access the system. When you first log in, you will face this screen here. Now, down the left-hand side, we've got a number of options available to you. There's the About screen, which is basically the home button. Below that, there is a link to a whole host of training videos, and if you click that, your browser will open a new page which will take you through to a number of videos showing you how to use the service. There is an end-to-end protection tutorial which is about 12 minutes long. However, if you don't have time for that and you're only looking to understand a certain aspect of the system, we have broken it down into shorter 60-second clips showing you each area of the system. Also in there, we've got details of the different webinars that we've run, and it's being recorded, and once completed we will get that on there, so if you wanted to come back and look at anything, you are able to there. Below the training videos, there's a number of options. Now, as you guys have registered for the protection webinar, I'm assuming you're most interested in the protection element. However, it's also worth noting that we do have comparison tools for workplace services such as group pensions, auto-enrollment, and workplace pensions. There is the protection link, which I'll go into in a bit more detail shortly. We have a savings investments link, which we're currently working on at the moment, so there's nothing in there at the moment. There are software comparisons, which will enable you to go in and run comparisons on client management systems and various financial planning tools. And lastly, we do have a due diligence link, which has a number of different tools which could be used in due diligence if you're involved in panel reviews or anything like that. So within the protection link there, we currently have 12 different products you can run comparisons on, ranging from critical illness, family income benefit, life, key person, shareholder protection, and relevant life. And when using the tool, it's just a case of going in, clicking in the protection link, and then finding whatever product type you want to run a comparison on. Now, for life protection, mortgage protection, family income benefit, and income protection, we have produced our own ratings, rating insurers based on their propositions. And what I'm going to show you is the mortgage protection ratings, for example. So clicking on the mortgage protection link, that will give you a number of options below that. Where we have ratings, there will be a rating and fact sheet link. And if you click on the ratings link, what that will do is bring up our ratings medals table. Now, informing the ratings, what we did is went out to a whole host of advisors with different types of advisors, ranging from mortgage specialists to holistic financial planners to protection specialists, and essentially asked each one for whatever product type we was looking to produce the ratings on, what features should we be taking into account in our ratings, and how important are they relative to each other. Based on the feedback we received from those advisors, we narrowed down our ratings to these areas that you can see on the left-hand side. And based on how important each advisor told us they were, that informed how heavily we weighted each area. Now, in essence, the areas that are at the top are seen as the most important areas, going down in order of priority from there. And what we were able to do then is apply our own background benchmarking to the weightings we were informed by advisors to provide not only the overall ranking for each insurer, which you can see at the top there as a gold, silver or bronze, but also how each insurer scored in each of the areas we benchmarked. So we give each insurer an overall score, an overall medal if you like at the top there, along with a medal in each of the areas that have been analysed. Now, some advisors like using this just as a very quick way to do a comparison between two insurers. There's very little work, and at the back of this, if you click on the link in the gold medal for any of those insurers, what that will do is take you through to a fact sheet which will show you not only the overall scores for that insurer, but also give you a brief description of what they do in each of the areas we've analysed. Now, there is a fact sheet for every single insurer, so if we compared the Royal London one to, say, Legal and General, you can see it's in exactly the same format. So if you printed out the two fact sheets, put them side by side, you would very easily be able to see the differences between the two propositions. And as I said, some advisors like using this as it's very quick and easy for them to understand what the main differences are between insurers in the areas we've analysed. And some advisors are using the fact sheets just to addend to a suitability letter, just to almost as something to go with the key facts, so it's very quick and easy for a client to understand what's offered. Other advisors are not using this and are looking to go through to the full comparison service, which I'll show you in a second. But for each of the tools where we have ratings, they're in exactly the same format. It's just the areas that we've looked at in each one will be slightly different, and that's available for you to use if you so wish. So that, if you like, is the kind of highest level of information we provide to advisors. If you really want to drill into the detail, you can run a bespoke comparison for your client. Now, in this instance, we've just recently updated our business protection tools, so I'm going to run a relevant life comparison in this example. So I've clicked on the relevant life link there. That's given me a drop down of options, and if I click on the comparison, that will take me into the full comparison tool. The first screen I'm confronted with is essentially asking me if I want to run a new report or if I want to run a report from a template. Now I'll show you how you can save templates to make it very easy to run through the tool at a later date, and I'll explain how advisors are using that. You can also recall any existing reports, so if you have previously run a report within that product type, it will show you each report you've run and allow you to go in and rerun that report if you so wish. There's also a downloadable printable fact find, which it basically puts the areas you can select into the tool and into paper format. So if you wanted, you could take that out to the client and run through it with the client and bring that back to the office and put it into the tool. Now in this instance, I'm going to run this demonstration from a template just because it's easier. There's no inputting of data for me. However, the flow of the tool is exactly the same if you're going completely from new or from a template. So because I've selected new report from template, that has given me a drop-down list of the different templates I have saved. It's just a case of selecting the one you want to run and clicking on continue, and then that will take you through to the next screen where we ask you to select up to 10 areas that are going to be important to your clients. Now in this instance, because I'm running this from a template, those areas have been pre-populated. If I was running this as a new report, nothing here would be pre-populated, and it will be up to you to select up to 10 areas that you believe will be important to your client. So in this instance, I'm running a relevant life comparison, so I've selected things such as business protection support, continuation options, the financial evidence required, trusts, all things that you might select to compare insurers on. If there is anything here you're unsure about, if you just roll your mouse over it, what it will do is show you the underlying areas we look at within that to hopefully explain to you a bit more what we look at within those areas. So that was the financial evidence. If you look at the added value benefits, you can see we're looking at all things such as terminal illness and business legal advice, recruitment services, and so on and so forth. So in this instance, I have selected 7 areas to run my comparison on. As I said, you can select up to 10 areas. If I click continue, the system will then pull through those 7 areas and ask me to weight them in order of priority. So along the right hand side here, you can see that there is a box here where you can input a weighting. We give you 100% to allocate amongst the areas you've selected, and it's just a case of applying a weighting in order of preference or priority. Again, because I'm running this from a template, that has been pre-populated. If you was doing this from new, you would need to go and input those weightings. Alongside that, we also give you a notes capability where you can input some details of why you might have selected certain areas. So if you click on any of those, it will bring up a dialog box which you can add in a note, maybe of some discussions you've had with your clients, or potentially some reasoning as to why you're selecting what you've selected, or why you've weighted it the way you have. You can either add notes there or leave it blank. It's completely up to you. But if you do add notes there, what that does is add an extra layer of audit to what you're doing, and if you are using these reports to go as part of your file for compliance, any compliance officer that picks that up will very clearly be able to see why you've selected the areas that you've selected. So now I have selected the areas I want, the high level areas I want to run a comparison on. I've weighted them in order of priority. I can then move on and select who I want to run a comparison from. Now you can either select individual insurers here to run a comparison on 1, 2, 3 insurers, or alternatively you can select all, which I'm going to do in this instance, and then we can move on and the system will play back what we've selected and how we have weighted each of those areas, along with who we're looking to compare. And at this stage, if you see anything that you want to change, there is a refine sections button here. So if we click on that, it will bring up that list that we saw at the beginning, and you can go in and make any changes if you wish. I'm not going to in this instance. But once you're happy with that, we can then move on and generate a very early initial report. Now, I would stress at this point, we have only selected very high level areas. We've not drilled into any detail. So this is just an early indication of who might be a best match for your client. And what it's based on is the areas that you've selected, along with how you've weighted them, combined with our underlying benchmarking to give you an overall early indication of who might be a best match. Now, that, as I said, that is very high level, and we really want to drill into the detail and get to the crux of what we're looking for our client. So in order to do that, we can continue on, and at the next stage we can input some details about the client if we wish. As you go through the tool and you use the tool a bit more, clients that you add in will be saved and will appear in that drop-down list, so you can reselect them and get that pre-populated. The only things that are mandatory are the name and date of birth, and the date of birth is only mandatory because there are certain sections you can select which are based on age bands, so underwriting limits, for example. If we've got the client's date of birth, we can match the underwriting limits to their age bracket and save you guys some work. So we've input the details of the client. We can then move on and really drill into the detail of what we're looking for. So on this screen, what has happened is the high level areas that we've selected previously, so the first one that's popped up here is the sum assured limits. We can now drill into the detail of each of those. So for relevant life, most insurers, their maximum sum assured will be on a multiple of salary based on the client's age. So in this instance, my client is between 35 and 39, so I want to know what the max sum assured is for that age band. So I've put 100% in there. That's the only thing within that area that matters to me. Again, I can add in the notes here just to explain why I've done what I've done, and from there on it's just a case of going through and, as we did before, applying weightings in each of those more detailed areas to really get to the crux of what we're looking to compare for our clients. So again, added value benefits, I've selected here things like bereavement counselling, immediate cover, rehab, second medical opinion services, but you can really select whatever you want and weight it however you want. Anything that doesn't have a weighting in it will not be taken into account. So I'm not going to go into the detail of every area, but obviously when you go through for the first time, you will need to go in and input these weightings as you go through. Once you've saved a few templates, as you can see here, all of those weightings will be pre-populated, and it's very quick and easy for you to go and run through that tool. So I have now input all of my weightings and really drilled into the detail of what I'm looking to compare for my clients. If we then move on, the system will again play back at a higher level the areas you've selected and how you've weighted them. Again, you can make changes just by clicking on the refine buttons below each of these pie charts if you so wish. So that's what we've selected at a higher level, and for each of those high level areas it will then show us what we've selected and how we've weighted the areas within those. It'll also show us who we're looking to compare. We can then give the report a name, so that might be your client's name, for instance. You can give the report a description, Now, the description can be anything you want, but a lot of people are describing the areas they might have weighted heavily, just because if you go to the recall reports part that we saw at the beginning of the demonstration, you'll see the description of that report, and perhaps it might be a bit easier for you to find. And then below that, we can elect to save what we've done as a template. Now, we're finding a lot of advisors are saving templates based on different demographics of clients. So an example I always give of that is if you was doing a critical illness comparison, for example, the things you might want to compare for a male in their 30s that has 2 dependents would be very different to what you would compare for example a female that's in their 50s, kids have flown the nest, so they've not got any dependents. In the first instance, you would want to look at the male-orientated critical illnesses and probably include children's critical illness. In the latter example, you'd want to look at the more female-orientated critical illnesses, and children's critical illness wouldn't be relevant, so you probably wouldn't select it. So we are finding people saving templates based on demographics of clients and what they believe is a good match for them. So you can save a template and call it whatever you want, male, aged 30, with dependents, for example. It's really up to you how you use that template capability, but it does save all of those inputs so that you can run through the tool very quickly the next time you have a similar case. It's also worth noting that if you do run a report from a template, you can make changes to those templates as you go along. So you might want to set up a standard template for all clients, minor changes as you go along to fit it to the specific client that you're running a comparison for. So we've gone through all of that. We've given the report a name, saved it as a template if that's what we're looking to do. We can then move on and get our final results. So again, the final results are purely based on the areas that you've selected. Anything that is not selected or has not been given a weighting is not taken into account. So based on what you've selected, how you've weighted them, combined with our underlying benchmarking, and that will give you your overall results. Now, you can see here that AIG have come top. That doesn't necessarily mean that you have to go with AIG. It's really up to you, but what we're finding is a lot of people are using this report to compare with the results they might get from their quotation portal, and using the report to say to their client, yes, the AIG product is 1, 2, 3, however many pounds per month more expensive than the cheapest option. However, based on my analysis, they have a far more comprehensive product that covers more of the attributes that we would look for a client like you, and therefore, is it worth spending that 1, 2, 3, or however many pounds per month more? We all know that compliance will say to you, if you're not going for the cheapest product from a quotation portal, they need to have reasons as to why you're not going for the cheapest. That's exactly what this tool has been designed for, to help you give those reasons as to why you're not going for the cheapest product. So the system will give you the overall results, but what it will also do is show you how each insurer has scored in each of those high-level areas you've selected. So I'll run through that fairly quickly. Again, what that enables you to do is understand exactly where the strengths of each provider are. I'll run through to the end. You then have a couple of options of the types of report that you want to generate from this. There is a summary report, which I'll quickly generate, which is just a 2-page report. Excuse me. Just a 2-page report showing the high-level areas you've selected, how you've weighted them, along with the overall results. we're finding some advisors are using that. Again, they might use that to addend to their suitability letter or just store on file. Other advisors are not using this and are opting to go for the full detailed report, which if you click on, it will then ask you, do you want to include data tables in this report? So this detailed report will include everything that you've just seen on screen, but it will also give you the opportunity of including data tables showing every single question we've asked in each of the areas you've selected, along with the responses from up to the top 6 even, insurers in the comparison. So if I select yes on that, it will then say, do you want to proceed with the top 5 in the data tables? Alternatively, do you want to add in a 6th insurer? So if you're up against a particular insurer that hasn't come within the top 5 of our research, then you can add them in. I'm not going to at this point. That will then go off and generate that report. Now, depending on the product type that you're running, it may take a little time to generate that report. If you're doing a critical illness comparison and you've included every single critical illness in your report, we do include within our data tables the critical illness definitions for each insurer. So if Vitality have come anywhere near the top 5, that report will be quite large and will take some time to generate. But generally it will usually take 30 seconds to a minute to generate. I've got one here just to show you quickly. So what it will do is, as we go through, oops, it will show you your overall results. Let me just make that small. There we go. So it will show you the overall results, how each insurer scored in each of those areas that have been selected. And then, as we said earlier, it also includes data tables showing all of the questions we've asked, along with the responses, in this case from the top 5 insurers. So that gives you an idea of the kind of level of questioning that we go to in our underlying benchmarking. It's not just do you offer such and such, if yes. How much, we really go into the details of in what instances they wouldn't offer things, so what are the exclusions to things, how much they will offer, what ages they'll go up to. We really do try to drill into the detail to really differentiate between insurers. Okay, so that is the overall reports that can be generated. If I go back into the system, that's essentially how to run a bespoke client comparison. The tool works in exactly the same way regardless of what products you're running a comparison on. What will change is the areas you can select from. So obviously if you're running a critical illness comparison, you'll be able to select from a whole list of the critical illnesses, and specifically within that what we're finding is people are weighting the critical illnesses where people are more likely to claim on heavier than anything else. So they might weight the cancer, heart attack, stroke and MS heavier than any other critical illness when they're running their reports. But again, what you select and how you weight it is completely up to you. There is one other aspect I would like to quickly run through with you. We at F&TRC are accredited by the PFS and CII to provide people with structured CPD training. Now, we are currently building these out so they come out once a week on a Friday, where we will send a mail shot to all of the users of our system that have elected to receive the mail shots basically giving an insight into a specific area of a protection product. That insight can then link back through into the system where we have the full CPD available to you. And if you go into any of these tools, if there is a training link that pops up, you can click on that, and that will take you through to the various training material we have on the system. If you click on any one of those, you'll be taken through to the training material, which we have to adhere to a very strict layout and settings for this to be able to be accredited by the CII and PFS. But essentially that will show you, in general terms, your training outcomes and objectives. It will give you the main training material, which you can then read through. A number of graphs there. Once you've read that, there's a multiple choice set of questions at the end there, where if you go through, answer those correctly, we will then email you through a certificate of CPD, which you can also elect to email or ask us to email directly to, for example, your compliance officer or business development manager who might be logging your CPD. Each one of these is worth 30 minutes, and at the moment I think we've got well over 10 hours of protection structured CPD on the system. So I would encourage you to go and have a look at that, purely because it's a very quick and easy way for you to gain your CPD. So that's, I've run through things fairly quickly there, but hopefully a good pace for you guys to understand. That's essentially what we're offering. All of that is available for free. Nothing I have shown you there do we have any intention of charging advisors for in the future. So it is all completely free for advisors to use. I would now just open this up to questions. So if anyone does have a question, there is a questions box where you can type in questions. Alternatively, I can open up the lines and unmute everybody so that you can shout out any questions if you like. So I'm just going to unmute everyone. If anyone's got any questions, just shout out.
Hi, this is Hassan Ahmed from Hamilton Knight.
Hi, Hassan.
A question about, are you whole of market?
Are we whole of market? The one insurer that we don't have at the moment, however, they are completing the underlying benchmarking, so we do expect to have them in there very soon, is Old Mutual, and that's obviously for the life and critical illness. Yep. Apart from that, I think, yeah, we've pretty much got everyone in here.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? I'll just give it a minute or so. If you haven't got any questions, thank you very much for attending.
In terms of mutual, do you know when you're likely to get them on board?
We are hoping very early next year, maybe within January next year.
Right, okay, that's great.
It's really just a case of them finishing off. Someone's asked, can I clarify how the comprehensiveness of the important critical illnesses are compared? So within the system, it's a case of we don't just ask, is the critical illness covered, yes or no. We go into specific questions about what's covered within the definition, and we'll also ask whether it's a full, partial, or a mixture payout. So we do cover the severity options, but within the questionings we have things such as, so for breast cancer, we will ask, will it cover a lumpectomy, a lobectomy, and so on, so on. So
Have you got access to this?
Okay.
No.
I don't know. What do you need to have access to?
No, I sort of registered.
Okay, so if there's no other questions, I'm going to close the webinar now. Thank you all very much for attending. If you have got any questions subsequent to the webinar, please do call in to us. We'll be more than happy to help. But otherwise, I hope the system can help you in your research. As I said, it is completely free, so go on. If you haven't registered already, please do so. And we hope that you all find it useful. So thank you all very much for attending.